A new Cold War? The world watches with bated breath. Tensions rise between East and West. A new Cold War casts a long shadow, but this time the stakes are higher. The Arctic, a region once considered remote and irrelevant, is now a potential flashpoint. At the heart of this new struggle lies a land steeped in history and geopolitical significance: Alaska. Could Russia, with its expansionist ambitions, be eyeing a return to its former territory? The possibility, once dismissed as a fringe theory, is now a topic of serious discussion among policymakers and analysts. The implications are staggering. A move by Russia to reclaim Alaska would have profound consequences for the global order. To understand the current tensions, we must journey back in time. We must delve into the annals of history. In the 18th century, Tsarist Russia, driven by imperial ambitions, laid claim to Alaska. The region, a vast expanse of icy tundra and towering mountains, held the promise of fur riches. Russian fur traders established settlements, exploiting the land's natural bounty. For over a century, Alaska remained a distant outpost of the Russian Empire. However, the discovery of gold in the mid-19th century piqued the interest of the United States. The strategic importance of Alaska, situated at the crossroads of Asia and North America, became increasingly clear. In 1867, in a move that would later be questioned and debated, Tsar Alexander II sold Alaska to the United States. The price, a paltry $7.2 million, which even at that time was considered a bargain. Some historians argue that the Tsar, facing financial difficulties and fearing British encroachment, saw the sale as a necessary evil. Others believe it was a strategic blunder of epic proportions, a decision Russia would come to regret deeply in the years to come. Whatever the reasons, the sale of Alaska marked a significant turning point in the history of the region. It also sowed the seeds of future tensions between the two nations as the true value of the land became apparent. The United States had acquired a vast territory rich in natural resources, including gold, oil, and timber, and of immense strategic value. Russia, on the other hand, had relinquished control of a land that would later become a key factor in the global balance of power, especially during the Cold War era. The discovery of gold in the late 19th century and oil in the 20th century further underscored the immense value of Alaska. This decision, whether seen as a regret or a blunder, undeniably shaped the geopolitical landscape of the modern world. The sale of Alaska remains a topic of intense debate and reflection, illustrating the unpredictable nature of historical decisions. Fast forward to the 20th century. The Cold War cast a long shadow over the Bering Strait, the narrow body of water separating Russia and Alaska. The two superpowers, armed with nuclear weapons, faced each other across this icy divide. The Bering Strait became a symbol of the ideological and geopolitical struggle between communism and capitalism. The Cold War may be over, but its legacy lingers. Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, has become increasingly assertive on the world stage. It seeks to reclaim its status as a great power, and Alaska, once a symbol of Tsarist ambition, is once again in the Kremlin's sights. Section 5. Whispers of expansionism, Putin's Arctic chessboard. Putin's Russia has made no secret of its Arctic ambitions. The vast icy expanse of the Arctic is not just a frozen wasteland, it is a treasure trove of untapped resources. The region, rich in oil, natural gas, and other valuable resources, is seen as vital to Russia's future economic and strategic interests. The potential wealth hidden beneath the ice is immense. Moscow has been steadily increasing its military presence in the Arctic, building new bases and deploying advanced weaponry. This is not just about defense. It's about asserting dominance in a region that is becoming increasingly important. This militarization of the Arctic has raised significant concerns in the West, particularly in Washington. The strategic implications of a heavily armed Arctic are profound. Adding to these concerns are recent statements by Russian officials suggesting that Alaska is rightfully Russian territory. These claims harken back to historical grievances and ambitions. These statements, though often dismissed as mere rhetoric, have fueled intense speculation about Russia's ultimate intentions. Could there be a deeper strategy at play? Could Putin be planning to reclaim Alaska for the Russian motherland? The idea, while seemingly far-fetched, has captured the imagination of many geopolitical analysts. The possibility, however remote, cannot be ignored. In the complex game of international politics, even the most unlikely scenarios must be considered. Section 6. Energy, resources, and the allure of the Arctic. The Arctic is a treasure trove of natural resources. It holds an estimated 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas reserves and 13% of its undiscovered oil reserves. As climate change melts Arctic ice, access to these resources becomes easier. Russia, with its long Arctic coastline, is well positioned to exploit these riches. Alaska, too, is rich in natural resources. It holds vast reserves of oil, natural gas, gold, and other minerals. For Russia, reclaiming Alaska would be a strategic coup of the highest order. It would give Moscow control of a vast territory rich in resources and of immense geopolitical significance. Section 7. The Bear's Toolbox, Military Might, and Cyber Warfare. Russia, under Putin, has demonstrated its willingness to use military force to achieve its objectives. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 sent shockwaves through the international community. It served as a stark reminder of Russia's military capabilities and its willingness to use them. But Russia's military might is not its only weapon. Moscow has also become adept at waging cyber warfare. Russian hackers have been linked to attacks on government institutions, businesses, and critical infrastructure in the United States and other Western countries. In a hypothetical scenario where Russia attempted to reclaim Alaska, cyber warfare would undoubtedly play a key role. Section 8. Propaganda and the Russian world narrative. Propaganda is another powerful weapon in Russia's arsenal. It is used not just to influence public opinion within Russia, but also to sway international perspectives and create confusion among adversaries. The Kremlin has invested heavily in state-controlled media outlets that spread disinformation and promote a narrative favorable to Russia. These outlets, such as RT and Sputnik, are designed to look like legitimate news sources, but their primary function is to serve the interests of the Russian state. One of the key elements of this narrative is the concept of the Russian world, which posits that Russia has a special responsibility to protect the interests of ethnic Russians and Russian speakers living abroad. This idea is deeply rooted in Russian history and culture, and it is used to justify a wide range of actions on the international stage. In the context of Alaska, this narrative could be used to justify Russian intervention. The Kremlin could argue that it has a duty to protect ethnic Russians in Alaska, even if there is no evidence of actual oppression. Moscow could claim that the ethnic Russians living in Alaska are being oppressed, and that Russia has a moral obligation to protect them. This claim would be amplified through state-controlled media, creating a sense of urgency and moral righteousness. This propaganda campaign, coupled with cyber attacks and military posturing, could create a pretext for Russian action. By combining these elements, Russia can create a narrative that justifies its actions and confuses its adversaries, making it difficult for them to respond effectively. Section 9. The Global Response, a World on Edge. Any attempt by Russia to reclaim Alaska would be met with international condemnation. The United States, as a NATO member, would be obligated to defend its ally. The ensuing conflict would have devastating consequences for all involved. It could even escalate into a wider war, potentially involving nuclear weapons. The world watches with bated breath. The stakes are higher than ever before. The possibility of a new Cold War, this time centered on the Arctic, is a sobering reminder of the fragility of peace. The future of Alaska, and indeed the world, hangs in the balance. Section 10. What next? The future of the last frontier. The situation in the Arctic is fluid and unpredictable. Russia's intentions remain unclear. Will Putin continue to pursue his expansionist ambitions, or will cooler heads prevail? The answers to these questions will have profound consequences for the future of the Arctic and the world. One thing is certain: the Arctic is no longer a remote and irrelevant region. It is a geopolitical chessboard where the world's great powers are vying for influence. The fate of Alaska, the last frontier, is now inextricably linked to the global balance of power. Section 11, a call to awareness. The possibility of Russia reclaiming Alaska may seem far-fetched to some, but the threat is real. We must be aware of the dangers. We must be prepared to defend our interests. The future of the Arctic, and indeed the world, depends on it. Share this information with your friends, family, and colleagues. Spread the word. The time for complacency is over. The time for action is now.